Let me catch you up on what's happening in Puerto Rico because this election could be historic. See, much like in the US, we've long had two dominant parties. One that's pro-statehood, which means they want Puerto Rico to become the 51st state, and one that supports the current Commonwealth status. Well, for the last 50 plus years, they've been taking turns winning the governor's seat and controlling the legislature. But since 2016, the governor has been from the pro-statehood party. If you remember that time that Puerto Ricans took to the streets and they ousted the governor, that governor was from this party. So in the following election, the pro-statehood party won the governor's seat again, but as you can see, only by a narrow majority. And that election was already historic because candidates from other parties got a lot of support. So these two parties looked at each other and they were like, we agree on a lot of policy, why don't we join forces? So they formed an alliance. So now the candidate representing the alliance is pro-independence, and polls are putting him in second place. That's huge. In Puerto Rico, independence has long been a fringe position. I've told you before that the US persecuted people who were pro-independence here, and also there was a strong narrative created that independence from the US meant starvation for Puerto Rico. Now, the fact that he's getting unprecedented support does not mean that now all of these Puerto Ricans support independence for Puerto Rico. What it means is that people are making a calculation that if the statehood party has been in power for so long and we're still not a state, voting for a pro-independence candidate doesn't mean that Puerto Rico is going to become independent. But as you can see, the pro-statehood candidate is still way ahead. But what we know about this particular poll is that the people who participated, most of them, also voted in the primary for the two parties that used to be the dominant parties. And even then, the candidate for the alliance came in second, so it's looking like these two are the front runners. So where do they stand on ideology? Well, Jennifer Gonzalez is a Republican and she supports Donald Trump. She had called him out after the January 6th Capitol attack, but she went back to supporting him for this election. She attended the Republican National Convention in support of Trump. She's also a supporter of Benjamin Netanyahu and tweeted about watching his address to Congress and Israel's right to exist and defend itself. And in Puerto Rico, she's been campaigning on putting federal funds to good use on education, healthcare, electricity, etc. Juan Dalmau supports universal healthcare and walking back the privatization of electricity in Puerto Rico. He says his party stands for social democracy. He has been questioned on his party's ties to leftist leaders like Nicolás Maduro, and he responds by saying that he was the first politician in Puerto Rico to call out the lack of transparency in the most recent elections in Venezuela. Now, heading into this next election, there have been a lot of accusations of vote stealing and voter suppression by the party in power, which is the pro-statehood party. So U.S. Congress members have called for a federal officer to monitor this next election in Puerto Rico.